exit the full screen. There we go. Alrighty. Long time no see. We'll wait just a couple of minutes, not a little less, and we'll get it going. Oh my goodness. I feel like crap, by the way, you guys. I've been sick for like 2-ish weeks. So if I cough on here and have like a coughing attack, my bad. I'm just trying not to die. But you guys tell me how it's going. It has been, what, 2 months since I last came on here? It's been a while. Skylar, how you doing? I don't know if I've seen you on this channel before, so if you're new, welcome. Okay. What do I have on here? So today, we're going to be going over quite a bit since I've been MIA. Going to go more into depth on some of the threads that I put out. I've had to be kind of like, I don't want to say mysterious, but I've left some stuff out of a lot of the threads that I put out just so I could force myself to make content for you guys. So I kind of want to go through those after we read the last couple of chapters, and then, you know, talk about what's really going on. Byron, how's it going? I didn't miss a lot of chapters. I have not been on for a lot of chapters, but I did not miss them. Trust, I'm still very much here, and at least tweeting about them. But yeah, we are gonna read. I'm only gonna read the last chapter and the one that just dropped today. If you guys feel like I should read a little more back, let me know. But I feel like these last two are pretty important, more important than the other ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and get going. Okay, yeah, this is last chapter. So this is Asier talking. You become quite strong, haven't you, Nozel? And then he's getting shish kebabs, getting that Vonica treatment. But this is as far as you'll get. Really like this picture. Like, you know, I do think it's supposed to kind of mimic Noelle versus Vonica when she finally was able to connect to Vonica right before she pulls out the second attribute that she had, the curse warding magic. So that's another thing, you guys, like, we'll talk about it. Okay, so she is completely laid waste to the Silver Eagles and her family here, which is crazy, and there's not a scratch on her. So the power difference is crazy, clearly above captain level, clearly above, you know, she's a one-man war, or a one, what is the expression? A one-man army, a one-woman army. But you also do have to question, like, how much is Nozel, Nebra, and Solid holding back? Because, you know, Nebra here says she doesn't even want to fight her, which is, you know, reasonable. Then we have Solid finally going through it. I hate this dude. But says, damn it all, I can't compete with that at all. And she said, Solid, Nebra, you both could have become so much stronger. But your conceitedness and hatred warped not only your strength, but your mind. So, my thing here is, how does she even know this? Like, she was dead this entire time, under Magicula's control. So, how would she know that Nebra and Solid were being pieces of shit to Noelle? So, maybe there's more to this, to what Lucius is doing. And that might explain why she knows that. But this kind of hit me like when Noct was acknowledging Asta after completing the Devil Union, and how he's always made the right choices. It showed a little montage of Asta and Yuno as children when not should not have been anywhere around. So yeah, it's just a little odd that that happened, but we'll keep it going. Um, I didn't love you enough, and it's my fault that I died. I'm so sorry. Kind of weird. I don't know. The dialogue here is just weird in general, because like, of course she didn't love them enough. She was dead. But it's kind of cool to see that she's taking it out on herself, though, as most parents would. I tried to be strong. I was supposed to be strong, but then my pride got shattered, and I desperately tried again, but I realized that in the end, it was all for nothing. So, Solid is not weak, though. It's good that he's getting in his head. This is the process of getting stronger. But he's not weak. Remember, I wouldn't say deflected. He shifted the course of an ancient demon, blast or spell, which is, no small thing. But he's just not that guy yet. Byron, would you say Tabata is going heavy with the biblical prophecies and Leviathan emerging during the end times? Yes, he is, and we'll get into it. Even if you're weak, I will always love you in the equal and peaceful world of Lucius. Once reborn, let us start over again, this time together. Maybe that's how it should be. If I keep thinking like this, and then we hear Noel come in. I like this. I wanted to see someone like that was not influenced by Lucius to be like, this doesn't sound like an awful idea, especially coming from a royal, though. The people that shouldn't feel this way necessarily, if they're thinking, oh, well, a completely equal world, it might not be a bad thing, especially if I'm getting my ass whooped by my mom. I like that Tabata added this, and I hope there's more, because I would like to see people willingly defect to Lucius. I think that's part of one of the more important aspects of like an antichrist character, assuming Lucius does fit that, which he for the most part does. Part of the antichrist in end times is people do flock to him, and he's supposed to mimic the Messiah. He's supposed to mimic Jesus, and people should be feeling comfortable to follow what he says and does. So I would like to see some more people willingly defect and have Lucius change them into the humans that he envisions them to be. Then we got Noel stepping up. And Assier, you're Noel, aren't you? So this is cool. I always forget they didn't actually meet, right? She birthed Noel, but she didn't experience Noel on a conscious level, because Noel was just a baby. You look just like me when I was younger, like peas in a pod. When this battle is over and you're reborn, we'll be together forever. And she recounts the time that they met her through the defeat of Nagicula. She was sure that was her real mother. And she says, you are Assier Silva, but you are no longer the Assier Silva we knew. You are the one we are supposed to defeat, the one we are supposed to pass. So I don't want to take anything away from Noel here. However, she does have an advantage not knowing her mom on a more intimate level, like Nozel, Solid, and Nebra do. Because they don't want to fight her because they've had an actual history with her. Whereas Noelle hasn't really had that. She's had this experience where she was hugged by her soul. But, she doesn't have that strong attachment. So, while the mindset is what people should have, you're not the mom that we knew. Noelle just straight up never knew her like that. So, it's kind of an advantage, and it kind of makes her look better when she says this, but it's something that I just realized, Nozel over there hating. I hate this little picture here, because after all they've been through, he should realize that Noelle would never step up into a battle that she couldn't finish here, and she literally saved Nozel. When Latoil was possessed by the elf, and they were attacking the House of Silva, she saved all of them. So like, for him to say like, it's true you've become strong, but without Undine, there's nothing you can do. It's kind of like, dude, did you miss all those important parts of Noel's growth, my guy? But he's still the goat. It's just, I'd be a little salty if I got stabbed in the gut too. So you got Noel over here thinking about Asta and all that stuff, and I did point this out on Twitter. I do like that she came right back here, because this is when she first realized she actually had a family that cared about her, some happy memories, and this is when she finally broke past her limits. For roughly, it's not really the first time, but like the most important time she broke past her limits here. And that was it started with Asta, and then ended with the entire squad. And something I hadn't pointed out yet was, I like that she came back here and she's wearing her Black Bull's robe. We almost never see Noelle without a Black Bull's robe in this case anymore, which is a big development, because remember, Noelle didn't even want to be a part of the Black Bulls. She really didn't wear that unless they were out on like important missions. But she's just kind of adopted it now, right? Which is good. I couldn't do anything. I can no longer access Saint Stage, but all of it was meaningless in front of Lucius. I thought I had become stronger again in just over a year. No matter how much I try, I may not be able to change anything. Even then, but I can't give up just yet. Asta's definitely alive, I just know. And so that he can return at any time, I will protect this kingdom, and to do that, I need to become even stronger. This is so confusing to me. Like, I don't know how many people are just... It's just straight up copium, dude. Like, all these people... Okay. Mimosa and Noelle, firsthand, along with all of the captains, saw Asta get completely annihilated, right? Maybe the captains didn't see. They probably saw the later end of it. I forgot. Anyway, if a friend of mine gets beat up and jumped, right, and then they like shoot some bazooka at him and he just becomes red dust, I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, I'm sad, but he's definitely dead. Like, there's no way he's alive after that, you guys. But the way that people just have it in their heads, like the people that weren't there especially, be like, oh, no, he's alive. He's definitely alive. Let's go look wherever and hope we find this kid. Like, I mean, of course, we know he's alive. We have, an eagle-eyed perspective. However, that's some crazy stuff right there. That's some, like, Jesus stuff. Body went missing and everything. People are like, yeah, he's still out there. He is still out there. All right. Guess I didn't need to come for you at all. Or comfort you after all, did I, Noel? And it's Kahono. Okay. I got distracted there. Alright, well, what's going on? Well, there's kind of a big problem at the Seabed Temple, and I need your help. You can handle it now. I mean, you've gotten super strong, haven't you? I can tell just by looking at you. I think it has something to do with the crisis that's about to hit the Clover Kingdom. Then we get to the Seabed Temple, and we got Leviathan for the first time. For the very first time. And I will say, yes, I think this is 100% a devil. I don't care that they assimilated like spirits do, and they literally say that, and I'm going to get into it, trust, but the fandom has done this before, especially to me. We have a lot of things we can draw conclusions off of, like past context, current context, lore especially, and also aesthetics, right? So, let's just talk about the aesthetics part. I mean, devils have always been, like, black, right? I don't know why all of a sudden we would stray from that. knowing that this has been a typical aesthetic for devils. Now, I understand the fact that, people are like, well, it's not a devil because it wasn't in the underworld, which I will also get into. But then to willingly. So it's what kind of bugs me about this and why people have such an issue with me saying this is a devil. That's weird. Is just that it's a lack of consistency, right? So it's like people saying, okay, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 4 plus 4 is 8. But then we get to like a 10 plus 10 situation, and then it's like, that must be 4. It has to be 4. And now you're just not adding correctly. And not to say like I'm absolutely right. I'm going to say there's room for me to be wrong, absolutely. However, the consistency thing that I'm getting into is that Tabata has used accurate names for these devils to this point. Now, of course, Megicula would be the exception, but I do think there's more to her story and why her name is like that. However, the rest of the devils have been true to lore. So, for people to adopt the fact that, oh, Tabata's doing a great job because he included Leviathan in the end times, and then say that it's not a devil, when in this lore that they're referencing, Leviathan is claimed to be a devil. But the issue is that people don't read into it more than that. So, while I can say this, I can credit that people may not find Leviathan as a devil right off the bat when they're first skimming through whatever reading they're doing. However, it's alignment and intention that matters. You do have sources that say Leviathan is not a devil, but was just a beast made by God that was on Earth. But then Lucifer found it, and Leviathan and Lucifer pretty much hit it off. And so he became a ruler of part of the underworld. So he was an adopted devil. Then you do have more sources that say that Leviathan fell with the rest of the angels. There's one that's kind of cool that I never knew about, where they talk about the Leviathan during the fall, and how Leviathan was a dragon already made, and it was massive, right? And would devour anything. But God sends it packing. Like, okay, I'm going to put this in the simplest terms because that's how some of these biblical things should go. So God essentially bitch slaps Leviathan, and a scale falls off. And the scale that falls off lands on Earth, and that becomes the Leviathan that we know. So the suggestion there is kind of like how I've talked about how Beelzebub has gone by different names, and because these are different incarnations of him, like Baal, Thor, Zeus. Those are incarnations and different names and whatever. But yeah, kind of smack him silly. Scale falls off, another Leviathan is created that is much smaller but representative of the original one. That was pretty cool. They also talk about how Leviathan was made with a pair. Some just say that it was just Leviathan and Behemoth, which I think we'll talk about a little bit. Yeah, I think I will, towards the end of this reading here. But other ones say that there were actually 2 Leviathans, one male, one female. God kills one and saves the meat for the apocalyptic dinner that some people are supposed to have, which is just kind of weird. I don't know why people are like, the end of the world, gotta eat Leviathan meat. They don't really explain it either, as far as I know, at least, why it has to be eaten by people. But anyway. But the other one was pretty much just left alone. And so it's kind of funny that we had the 5-headed dragon in Hino, and then we have this one. Which also did make me think of what the gender of this Leviathan would be. Because the 5-headed dragon in lore is a male. So I'm assuming this would be a female, which does go against a bit of the lore because it was the female that God killed himself, while the male kept going. But who knows? Tabata is an interesting writer. He'll make it work either way. But anyway, I do think this is a devil. And we'll kind of get into it a little more as we keep it going here. But yeah, she goes, "What is that? It's the sea god that's been worshipped here since ancient times. The dragon of the raging seas will once awaken from its long slumber as the doom of the world approaches." And just like the legend stated, the sea god woke up. Now, I will admit, as a hardcore Black Clover fan, I will say I did find this kind of lazy. Like to throw in that, oh yeah, the sea god is this crazy sea serpent thing that doesn't look friendly whatsoever. And we've been worshiping this thing this whole time, guys. I do think it's really weird. And I did mention it on Twitter, actually, where when we're first shown, like, Kahono and Kyato talking about the sea god, there's a guy, and he looks like Poseidon. He's holding a trident. He's got long hair. He's got the beard. Kind of looks like they're the high priest, their grandfather, in the seabed temple, but much younger and muscular, of course. But then we get this. So, there's a lot of conclusions we can draw. Like, maybe that was the first person to assimilate with it. Or he lost his form, became this, or Tabata just completely dropped the ball. I do think it's kind of likely that that figure had assimilated with this being, but they directly call this the sea god. So it's just a little strange to me, and I know that the Heart Kingdom has something similar going on that we could attribute to this, with Undine kind of making like this forever pact with the kingdom itself, and the queens over the generations. But again, like I keep saying, it's just really, really weird. And for it to need a water mage, and for the people in the Seabed Temple to not have one water mage is also kind of weird. And why they would need to adopt a royal from a capital that is forbidden to even go to for them, to take on this sea god, is really, really strange. So things just don't quite add up, and I think this was a little bit rushed, but necessarily rushed. I don't think it was a bad rush, but I do want to acknowledge that it wasn't like clean. And it says, "The world is in danger. I'm starting to go crazy, and because of that, I must find a strong host." So this is an important panel that I don't think anyone really talked about. So, one, why is it concerned that the world is in danger, right? And then two, why is it going crazy? So there's got to be some connection it has with the world or something else in it. And it says they must find a strong host. So we don't really know the reason for why it needs a host. But if it was going crazy and it wanted to do all that, why wouldn't it just leave the Seabed Temple? And part of this goes into part of the reasoning as to why I think it's a devil. I don't think it can just leave. I mean, look at the thing. It's massive, and it's out here. But consider that this thing that looks just like Noel's spell, by the way, Sea Dragon's Lair, could be meant to keep this thing in, and not so much just to keep things out. I think that's something that we really, really need to consider. And also note that Leviathan is the thing that separates the underworld from humanity. And it's supposed to live. I don't know how many times I have to pull up this picture, but I'm going to do it every single time. Because this is the part that I don't think people understand the best. Okay, and we'll use this. It's got a serpent on it and everything. Okay. So, look at this. We, of course, know... Oh, I want the whole... I guess I don't need the whole thing. So, look. Of course, this upper part is the Sephira, right? The emanations of God. This is the Klipot, the Tree of Death. This right here is the physical realm. Now, Venn diagrams work in a very specific way. You have this circle of the underworld. This is the first one. This is what Nama rules. in lore and I guess maybe in series, even though they shared the first two realms. But look at how her circle overlaps with this heavenly circle. And this part specifically is Earth, well, not just Earth, it's the entire universe, but Earth to be relative. So this is where Leviathan is supposed to hold his home, is right in here. So of course Leviathan would be physical and on Earth. So if that's the case, someone would have to essentially more or less seal it away, or at least control it. And I had also posted on Twitter, when we're looking at the Sea God and the Seabed Temple, I wonder if I can find it here. He is wearing... Okay, well that's a good colored picture of it. Yeah, we'll just use that because I feel like we just won't find it. And it's a Broku video. God, that guy sucks. So look, he's wearing these beads around his waist, and these could be mala beads, which are more or less purification beads. Things that will aid in the purification of a venerated spirit. So this god is obviously meditating, and that's what they use these beads for. It's different processes of meditation. To achieve enlightenment is the goal here, but it could be possible that they seal this devil inside of someone to use the power, but to also make sure that is kept safe and away from the world at large, so it doesn't just wreak havoc. Just something to consider, but always looking for any kind of clues that we can get from this series, because it's not going to be spoon-fed to us right away, at least. Shelley like Ouroboros? Yes, actually, Leviathan is directly conflated with Ouroboros, and Jormungandr, and there's one more I'm not thinking of right at the second, but yes, like Ouroboros. Okay, so they need a water magic mage who can unite with its magic as if with the spirit. So, okay, let me look at the actual translation of this, because words do mean things, and I just want to make sure that it's right. So it says, who can unite with mana just like a spirit. So it's just like a spirit here, as if with a spirit. I don't know if we should take that as like it's like a spirit. You can do it because the mechanics are the same, but it's not a spirit. That's how I take it, at least. But it's something, again, to consider. I think just to kind of wash away the idea that this could be a devil is a little absurd, if you ask me. But she says, let's go see God. It's like, yes, go. And that's where we get our reveal that his name is Leviathan. And then, Noelle, you're still... And then we got Kyato and Kohono. And I'm curious as to what they're going to do here. Actually, now that I think about it, because I was like, Kohono and Kyato kind of... Like, their magic is cool, but it's kind of mid. It's not going to work against someone like Asier. However, as a support, especially Kohono's magic, something could happen, especially since they've been looking at... they've cultivated their magic in a way to serve the sea god. That's literally what they say. And so maybe there could be some really cool combo spells that they throw into this with the sea dragon form. Now that I think about it, pretty cool. Broku, what's going on? You haven't missed too much yet. Just talking about how Leviathan might be a devil. Probably is. I like the way she transforms too. This looks badass. Yeah, looks crazy. And then we got the form. So the form is pretty cool. I like it. I don't mind it. People are like, oh, well, it should have more armor. It's a dragon, especially Leviathan. It's known for its impenetrable scales, right? Impenetrable scales. But I'm assuming that when you find less armor, you find more mobility and more speed. So I'm assuming that even though she was really fast before, she might be even faster now. And we'll have a really high speed, high octane fight between her and her mom, which I'm looking forward to a lot. But let's look at the form. We get horns, right? What spirit has given anyone horns yet, you guys? And I don't know. And I'm not above anything to say like, well, we haven't seen like a dragon contract. I don't know, but just think like every time someone's you know drawn power from a devil, they grew horns. We've seen Noelle with a halo when she was in same stage with Undine. This is clearly not that. So, I mean, it's just little stuff like that. The way the lance looks too, right? It looks a little more. It's shaded with black, like intentional black. Same with her armor, and to me it looks like how devils manifest their power. To me, but again, could be wrong. But I'm just going with how I've been attacking this series the entire time, and trying to stay as consistent as possible. So that was that chapter, and then we'll read the one that dropped today real quick, and then we'll talk about every single thing happening. Okay, so I like this face. This was good. Like that's when that gets animated, it's gonna be one of my favorite parts. I don't know. It reminds me of something too, probably from Naruto, to be honest. Okay, then we get the new Sea Dragon's Roar. This she should have renamed it. She should have said this is the Sea God's Roar. But really, really like the aesthetics of this. This looks great. And just thinking, like you don't have any real measure, right? Of like how much stronger a spell is, but given the aesthetics, the speed lines on it and everything, you can assume that this is like crazy stronger than her original spell. And with the range that she casted it at, this is almost a point blank. This is like a sawed-off shotgun, Sea Dragon's Roar. But Acier, like zero dips it, like more than zero dips it. Which is telling us this is going to be a really, really big fight, because to neg something like that is insane altogether. Acier got some crazy ass boosts from Lucius, because when we originally saw her fight, she was fighting a much less Vonica. Like Noelle in the Heart Kingdom, well, she did have to get help from like Sekre and have the elemental advantage. So maybe it's not completely fair to say, but in that moment, Noelle was definitely stronger than Acier. And Vonica was much more powerful at that point. So the kind of boost that she got was very real. So I do wonder what devil is incarnated in her. And if that even matters, or if Lucius just gave her even more magic and strength by recreating her body, which he could probably just do. So I like this. It's like it's a friendly combat to the death, between mother and daughter. Gotta love that stuff. So now we're back to Lucius, one of the craziest fights. And this is straight out of Lucifero's page. I want to say that it could be likely that he's taken on a lot of Lucifero's like mindset, because he is becoming a little bit more arrogant. His moveset is just like Lucifero's. This is literally what Lucifero does to and it knocks him away just like it happened here. Did I ever mention how much I hate Lucius's form? I really don't like the Paladin form. It's just so much happening. It's like, how do you even move like that? You look so dumb. Anyway, let me look at the chat. You guys are talking. Okay. Sleek, hey, I get what you're saying, but in some forms of lore, Leviathan is creation by God to show he's the pinnacle of creation. Is that all human weapons will fall beneath it until God comes to slay it. Right. But even in those same things, Leviathan sides with Lucifer, because consider that God put it there for the express purpose for it to be killed. So why would it align with God in that sense? But in those same ones, it's Lucifer that does come to approach it and then ends up giving it reign over a part of the underworld, and it becomes the Prince of Envy. Shelley, I think the final boss, this sounds very conversational. Who's the final boss? Byron, Salika's right in Psalm 74:14. God kills Leviathan, God feeds his people. So this is what I was just talking about. I don't know how long ago this message was, but I did address this, where God made two Leviathans. He kills one right off rip because he goes like, okay, I don't want or need these things reproducing. So he kills the female and leaves the other one alone. And he prepares that meat for when the apocalypse comes. And then when that other Leviathan is killed, they're going to eat that meat as well. They say that in the very same place you're looking at. Her dress does look awesome, and Broku does look demonic. That's what I think too. Nate, also, we know Valkyrie dress can have different modes. Maybe there's an armored mode for when she needs different... Yeah, maybe. It looks like what I think Devil Water Magic would look like. Yeah, that's fair to say. This chapter confirms Noelle is over Lucifero. Yeah. Would she be? Let me go through the chapter. I'm also really bad at the power scaling. Like, I'm not on Broku level on this stuff. So, Iqbal, but it's hard to scale everyone here because they got the boost from Yuno. Yeah, I guess you could say that, but they're not in range of this spell, I don't think. I guess they would be, because everyone was supposed to be attacking the capital. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess it could be hard. Maybe. I don't know. Southwind. Maybe Kahono and Bro will do a Kremlin, Yamcha... Oh, Krillin and Yamcha, and buy time to... In this case, Noelle needed time to activate a new massive spell, and that's their role. Oh, it's possible. We've seen stuff like that happen before. Shelley, you believe that the final boss will turn out to be Charmy. Whoa. Okay. Broku, Jack, would you agree that the underworld is likely a universal-sized realm based on the real diagrams and lore Tabata is taken and put in BC? That's something I've always thought about. I really don't know. Because, like, it's just a little weird to think that it would be like a really big universe, but they can see the ceiling of the universe, you know what I mean? And it's close enough for devils to want to, like, reach for it, much less throw a demonic child at it. So I think maybe it could be, and it's just really limited, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable like that. Or it's like a container, like it's a set size. I really don't know. But I will say, as far as like Libe getting thrown out of the first gate, I would say that it's probably... Oh, it's difficult, because I do go back and forth between, like, it's very physical, because Libe was released in a very physical place when he got yeeted through. And if it was just, like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to attack. Yeah, it's a little bit too hard to attack for me. I can see both ways. For right now, I would say that it's probably limited. If we go back to like the Spade arc and they release the first gate, all the devils had escaped from it. They were even able to get up to the second gate, and Lucifero uses all of the bodies from the first and second seals. So I would say there's a set number of devils, and it gives us that it's probably a very limited space that they're in, but that could easily be wrong. Lucius is about to get a power up next chapter. I mean, does he? I don't think it'll be a power up. I think he'll just actually show up next chapter and stop being cocky, or at least be less cocky. Noel's peak was Julius, according to Tabata, and Lucius just said that Noel got stronger. Oh, that's right, he did say that. So yeah, then that would be true. Do you think we'll get a Lucius flashback? Yes. That's what I'm hoping, because the last time had really cut into a Zogratis, it was Xenon, and that's when we met Lucius because of Xenon having a flashback. Like, that attack sent him through his entire life, the important parts at least. So yeah, I do think a flashback. I think it's necessary at this point. We've seen Hino. We've got a new dragon contract thing happening with Noel. Jack let off this giant attack. We have so much happening, but we've never got Lucius's perspective on anything at all, except for what chapter 333, when we see him talking to Julius, and when he's sitting in front of the altar about to make a contract with Osterov. That's all we know. We don't really know what's happening in his head, and how he got here, which is important. So I will hope for a flashback. I'm hoping set this up for us, right? Broku, the reason I say that is because the diagrams that Tabata uses are copy and pasted from Robert Flood, who is a Kabbalist who believed the underworld was the universe. Yeah, you're talking about the microcosm and macrocosm, so if you guys don't know what he's talking about. Macrocosm. Alright. So these are the Rosicrucian ones that you see right off the bat. I should probably put in Robert's name in there to be more specific. Where'd you go? But yeah, we've talked about this during a few of the streams too. Oh, what is happening? It's pulling up all the micro and macrocosms of Robert Flood. I just need the one he's talking about. In the event that I, for whatever reason, can't find it now, it's just the tree that Dante holds up during his fight against Asta and Yami. Well, against Yami in that moment. The same one used in Full Metal Alchemist, though, where you end up finding truth. Yeah, I think this was an offline video as well that I had talked about this tree. But yeah, it's a this one. I passed it up, and none of you said anything. Thanks, guys. But yeah, the thing about this tree, though, it's the point of this video, even God's fault, is that this tree has 0 demons on it. 0. Not to say that Robert Flood did not believe in devils, but this tree has no demons on it, and this is supposed to embody everything, as far as the tree of life, death, and the physical realm goes. So the top one says something like Father of Fathers, then we have like the crowd of gods, the host of gods, all of that stuff, and then the Lord down here. And these are different types of angels, if I'm remembering this right. Yes. So this kind of suggests that one of two things. One is that there are no devils, there are only archons. So Robert Flood, if I'm not mistaken, towards when he was making this stuff, was a Rosicrucian. Or Rosicrucian apologist. I think that was him who labeled himself that way. And the idea behind this is that the archons are the angels that we know. And it's the angels that actually hold us back from enlightenment. The angels in this world. So I probably end up like I probably pull up this picture more than I should, but oh, what? Carving. So this one is called The Seer Space. What in the world? If I can find it. Why am I not finding the pictures that I need to? I type in the same thing. This one. Okay. So, here we have the world that we experience, right? This is Earth. That's the sun. This is more or less a fake sun. Let me get the whole picture in this. And this is what we know. And so, you see that we have the sun and the moon here. This is still not the whole picture. This is going to piss me off. But anyway, the point of this is that when you die, your soul transcends, and the different stars, or planets rather, represent a different angel, right? And as we see, it also represents different demons. These are the archons. They protect the path to enlightenment or nirvana, because nirvana lies out here, and out here is where the real God exists, where real angels exist, as you see here. That would be a throne, I believe. And the real sun and all that stuff. And this is really just a cheap copy made by a false god. They call it the creator god, known as Yahweh, Satan, Samael, all that stuff. So that picture is more or less representing this, but it also works on the outside as well. Very interesting stuff. I have all of these books that have all that stuff in it too. Very interesting reads. I'm going to read a couple more, then get back into this. I do want to finish the chapter, and then we'll talk all about the theories here. What happened to Adramelech? Yeah, we don't know. He could be intercepting the Black Bulls or whatnot, or could be just laying in wait. You got to think about in a war, it's probably good to have reinforcements because, respectively, on our side, we're missing Kaiser and Dorothy. I think it's always good to have reserves. So if the first front doesn't work, the second front comes in to clean up while the first battalion, I guess you could say, rests and recoups to start again once the second wave is done. Okay, but the thing is, the world can be infinite. Let's look and take a portal place where you can still travel through gates, because even in the real Tree of Death, it's infinite, but you can still travel in it. Salik, I see what you're saying, but I would fundamentally disagree with it. Because they don't... Okay. So we're getting into a much more, like, metaphysical realm. It's not like a whole universe. Like, they're literally trapped in there. And even on the Tree of Life, like, you have to take it literally and not literally. So I'm just trying to find words to express this in a concise way. So when the trees were made, God puts in light energy, right, into the first husk, which we know is Keter. And then from there, once it was filled, he had to create another husk and start filling that up with light, and so on until he hit Geburah, which is when we start formulating the underworld, because the Geburah is where the husks kept breaking because they couldn't hold in the light. And we talk about this. This was probably my very first stream ever, talking about this and the whole history behind this. But that in itself tells you that they're not limitless, and that they are confined spaces. But when we're descending down the realm of the Dark Tree, it is more or less limited still. And this is... Okay. I don't want to go on too big of a tangent, so I will cut it short by saying this. There's a guy named John Renaud who talked about this almost exact thing in both heaven, hell, and especially here in the physical universe. When the Big Bang happened, it was not believed by him and his colleagues that the universe somehow creates more substances. There was a set amount of substances the entire time. And the only thing that changes is the way that that energy forms itself after it dies in whatever form it's in. So this is where we get things like energy never dies, and energy gets recycled. There's a set number. This is adopted. This was adopted by them because the Rosicrucians also believed in something like this, and that's what I just typed in here. Is the fixed stars. There are a set amount of things here. There are a set amount of souls, a set of materials used for energy, and just effectively a set amount of energy that one can use. So, yes, at the very end, it is limited. Could it be vast? Absolutely. But in the very end, it would be limited. And one of the more characterizing facts of the underworld is the fact that they are very limited, more so than the physical realm and heaven, of course. And this is why devils like Beelzebub wanted to move the battle between heaven and hell to earth. It's because they'd be less limited there. And think about, like, someone had brought this up, and I thought it was a very good point, and I'm going to steal it. Think about Zagrid in Black Clover. Very powerful, but consider that his magic is word soul magic, right? He may not have the same power that we saw in the underworld, because he might be a lot more limited as far as creating things go there. So that's just the stuff. And sorry, a lot of this is not just like a one and done answer. There's just a lot to consider, and it's not always fair to take just bits and pieces and just say, like, that's the way it is, and that's the way it was said. There's more that was said before and after it too. Anyway, let's get back to this. With the mobility of Star and Wind Magic, he's able to follow my foresight and my fast speed. And again, pulling up on Xenon the exact same way. So Tabata is going for something very specific. This is why I'm thinking a flashback would happen. This is a Lucifero move, but it ends here. Very cocky. I'm actually, to be honest with you guys, I'm liking Lucius less and less as chapter goes. Like, I'm seeing how much he didn't know. Which kind of sucks, because Lucius would make a very cool final villain, but now I'm thinking he definitely is not. He's lost. He's just lost in the sauce here. With this attack, I will take control of your soul, and we got Notice. Notice is cool. Having a shield, dope. Always holds his weapons so oddly. Like, why are you just putting your arm all the way across here? I don't like that. There's also like a cover of him where he's holding his sword really weird. It's like across his body. His hands are not where they should be normally. And his fight against a Longreese in the I don't think they did it in the manga, but in the anime, like the way he kind of pinned Longreese, Longreese easily could have got out of it. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Anyway, a shield made out of Gale that repels incoming attacks. So I think this is going to look a lot like Kaiser's Vortex magic, to be honest, where the winds are so strong it just really disperses that magic. So I think that's really cool if that's what it ends up being. And to kind of have like an anti-magic thing for himself would be really cool. But I do like that it's limited to the shield and you can't just use like, some other spells to do that. So that's awesome. Lucius, what is that magic? So he's never seen this before. Cool attack. He's even faster. I won't last much longer. I need to end this right now. And he says, how odd. And these are the things that the fandom's been talking about now. So this who grew up in the Clover Kingdom, I admit he worked very incredibly hard, but how could he be so strong? In my foresight, the that stayed in a Spade Kingdom where the rebellion never occurred should have been the strongest he's ever been. Even that needed several years of time to truly master star magic. So this is a big thing. There's a timeline that Lucius saw that there was no rebellion, which means that there was no triad. which is an interesting timeline, and I'm curious to see what that looks like. Obviously, it looks very good because Yuno was never taken to the orphanage. He was able to grow up and receive his grimoire of star magic. However, this also implies that, as you see, he does not have wind magic. So something happened here. Unless this is a Yuno who just received the Star Grimoire. He's not been to a Clover Grimoire Tower, and of course just never would realize that he has wind magic. However, he would still have the abilities, right? Just like any child can use their magic before they receive a Grimoire. We see using wind magic before receiving Grimoire, but never ever using star magic as a kid, as far as we know. So, just some interesting things to think of in this timeline. I do want to point out something that people aren't talking about, but this is something that constantly keeps coming up, right? This crown. With the same pattern that Dante has, the same pattern that Asta has, the same pattern that Megicula has. This is the same pattern that's seen on top of the, I want to say, it's probably not the right term for it, but gazebo on the very top where Licht and Tetia were getting married. This pattern is also seen there. It's supposed to represent, like, kings. So, Asta's king of something, or at least Liebe, and I really think it's hell, but we'll keep going. But in just a year and a bit, this Yuno's grown as strong as the one from that world. No, even stronger than that. And the same applies to them. The youngest child of the Silva family, Noelle, there doesn't exist such a future where she should be this strong. This dangerous woman, Marioliona, should have been instantly killed by Morris. Fuegolian died and should not have been here. I like that. He just should have died. He shouldn't have even been here. Even all the Magic Knights should have been wiped out by now. I will say this. I think he means, like, I don't know. Because I was thinking maybe he meant, like, Fuegolian should have died back when William and Patri ambushed him. But, I mean, if that's the case, then he should have known something was up with this timeline already. If Fuegolian was still alive. But he probably saw Fuegolian as such a non-factor that it didn't matter in the same respect. So, that's something I was thinking about. But he's saying, why? What's different? What is it that my foresight doesn't see? Oh, what is it? It's Asta. This in the end, he's the one always delivering the final blow. Just like with the fight with Lucifero. So this is thinking about this. So I find it funny that gets down on himself for not finishing fights here. Has far more bodies. I'm talking far more bodies than Asta. He's mad at himself because he can't finish a fight with devils, with supreme and high-ranking devils. I mean, that's a standard to set for yourself, but he's really going through it because he can't do it. But Asta can, which is crazy to me. But there's always room to get stronger. It's cool though. So that's the thing that frustrated me. That's why I'll keep overcoming those who I couldn't previously fight. I like this little clash. I think this means something, right? Where we see this darkness and the light, then this kind of shift. Maybe this is Neverland and the movement of it, but it's kind of representing an ideal clash as well, and who the better god is, honestly. But he says, this world I cannot see. It's a future. This world that's under the influence of Asta. So I did want to talk about this page really quick. So I've been I need to go back and kind of read through some of the past chapters, because I do feel like there were chapters where Asta and Yuno's faces were like half and half. We definitely did see against Zagrid, they were completing each other, one left hand, one right hand. One's covering disintegrating the magic materials, while the other one is getting rid of the physical materials. They complete each other in every aspect. But here it looks like they're far apart. They're almost two complete individuals. And so I kind of wonder what that means, in a sense. And to see the same kind of look, the same eye structure, but Asta's pupil is filled in while Yuno's is not, is interesting. And I bring that up just because this was going to be a point to talk about too. And we also see this with Asta and Liebe as well. Okay. So, we look at the eyes. Like I pointed out. One's dark. One is hollowed out white. Then we see Julius and Lucius right here. We have one dark, one light. We see Asta and Liebe's contract. One tattoo is dark, obviously, because the skin is lighter, sure. The other one is light, obviously, because one, his arm is black, so it would need to be white, right? But it's this contrast, and look at what all these characters seem to have in common, too, right? Asta and Liebe are carbon copies of each other. Both empty, both look exactly the same. Julius and Lucius look exactly the same, carbon copies. But, you know, opposite hair colors would be the obvious difference. And then the side that the sun is on, as well as what is filled in and what is not. And also the direction of the rays in which they're going. And Julius's is going counterclockwise, while Lucius's is going clockwise. I was going to say something else, but I forgot here. But anyway, the connection, whatever connection they have, is going to be something akin to that. And I'm curious to see what that's going to be. And I'll talk to you guys about some like really far reaches that I've made over the past couple of weeks here. But yeah, then we get Lucius looking crazy scared. I don't think this is really going to like kill him, because he just healed from an attack. If you guys didn't see, for those that didn't see, let me see where it was real quick. Right here. So Yuno slashes his shoulder. He heals right away. You can see the mana coming in to do that. So, am I worried that Lucius is gonna like die here or something, and we're just gonna get like some irrelevant other villain to take over? No. I do think we'll start seeing Lucius show out. If all is correct, or correct-ish that I've said, Lucius should have the most attributes we've ever seen a mage have. Should have gravity magic. He should. It'd be kind of ridiculous if he didn't, if he literally ate the heart of a devil and gained all the strength from it, except for the actual attribute that it had. Would be kind of crazy to me. It has time magic. I don't want to go over all the aesthetic things, but we do see that there should be some connections to Beelzebub here, especially with the horns and the 6 wings and the 2 halos. Should point to him maybe being able to even manipulate space. And there's an offline video talking all about this too. If he has all 3 of those things, he can effectively open dimensions, travel through them, manipulate time, go back in time, forward in time, and all that. However, it would take a lot of power, I'm sure. One thing that I don't think a lot of people discuss enough is this. What happened here that made his sun lose 3 of its rays? And we could say that it was jumping from dimension to dimension. You know, these little details do mean a lot when it comes to reading Tabata's material. So this could be an indicator that he does have more power than he lets on. I'm still thinking that the Triad are directly associated with him. They are not siblings. I hope we all understand that much. They're not siblings. Lucifero does not have gravity magic. Beelzebub does not have spatial magic, at least not as described. So I think something else is happening. I think my Antichrist video kind of covers what I'm thinking very well as far as the triad goes, right? We just saw that there was a timeline with no rebellion that I had mentioned. That means there was no triad. And if Lucius sees this, it's one of those things when you're dealing with devils, people. There's no honor amongst thieves. And by that I mean, there's not really many people that you can trust. If you're associating yourselves with devils, someone's bound to take things their own way. So you can't truly trust just anyone that comes your way that wants to work with you, because they can easily pull the rug from right under your feet. And later, Broku, we will definitely try to get a collab down. There's a lot to talk about now. But yeah, so I do think that the triad stemmed from Lucius's like literal physical being, somehow, some way. If not that, I do point out in the Antichrist video that there is not just one Antichrist. There are very many. And they all exist in different points in time, but still work in tandem. I mean, they also work together. So, if that's the case, if they are spread throughout time, of course, aligning himself with Astaroth would be necessary to gather some other worthy Antichrist characters to help him in his journey in whatever he's trying to do with this planet. I don't think it's as clear as people think it is, but there's whatever he's striving for can only be trusted with other Antichrists. Specifically choosing Dante, Vonica, and Xenon is, of course, for the sole purpose to create bodies and recreate them. And so, at it, but their story is still not done. So however that comes about, that's the part I'm waiting for. Let me take a look at some of your thoughts, your opinions, your comments, your death threats. Okay, Nate, with Lucius realizing the timeline has changed this early on, he's going to have to adjust his plans or speed up the end result before Asta returns. True. Southwind, I wonder where Lucius was, where his base of operations was in that few panels. I was thinking Shadow Palace maybe. I'm pretty sure it's the Underworld. Yeah, I would say it's the Underworld. Shelly Jack, I'm thinking Charmy will be based on Izanami and the female version of the false god that you mentioned. Izanami's not a false god, though. Those don't have anything to do with each other. Charmy being Izanami? That'd be interesting, for sure. But they don't venerate Izanami like they were doing with the Charmy figure. So I don't think it'd be her. I had already linked her to someone, and I'm forgetting who it was. But it's like a damn, what was her name? Because there's someone that fits Charmy's story in Japanese mythology like perfectly. Food god, clothes, all that stuff. Damn, it's in a stream though. Sleek. Well, he's not a true weapon master. He was never trained like Asta how to use his sword. So no, I would pull up what I'm talking about, but I don't know what to search for, to be honest, Sleek. But like, trust me, it's not just like bad swordsmanship. It's like, it is straight up awful. Like, hand placement, arm placement, everything. Foot placement too. Oh my god, awful. Samuel, I do want to know if there's another power with notice. Yeah, I think there probably could be. But then again, his forms, I will say his forms somewhat confuse me. The weapons too. We just know that one's stronger than the other. Like, he's never used the halberd in like a chopping way. He's always used it as a spear. It was just kind of interesting. Euros, I want to see that one more, because that's the strongest one for sure. But I really don't. I don't. I guess I would say I don't understand the fundamentals of like his powers and his different forms. Like I understand from Zephyr to Boreas, but from Boreas to Eurus to this, like I don't get the amp that he's getting. You know what I mean? Like Notice is a shield, so why is he faster? Maybe it's an accumulation of wins and all. I really don't know. I don't think it was explained that well. But then again, I am pretty stupid, so it could be a little bit of that. Byron, Lily also mentioned that Lucius wants to take control of the world's magic supply. Right. Shelley, your first theory, you're thinking that Liebe was supposed to be the main protagonist in Black Clover, and Astaroth decided to take over his body when he was born to alter the timeline. Maybe. Byron, honestly, this feels more like the first battle to take place, especially since Lucius says this is the first step to world peace. What are you commenting on there? A little bit confused. Final message. What if we get to see that Spade King timeline, and we get to see Asta as well as was the one pushing Asta forward. So how would he do without him? Oh, I think that's really the thing, though. That's the point that we're trying to get in this chapter, is that this world is completely influenced by Asta, and it doesn't matter if he died or not. Asta has already essentially damaged the future of Lucius, the one that he envisioned, because he's interacted with too many people. Just like the Triad had physically pretty much ran through the entire Four Kingdoms before we even knew it. Asta had done the same, first with Mars and Ladros for the Diamond Kingdom, the Witch's Forests, the Clover Kingdom, obviously the Heart Kingdom. He held them together. So his power is affecting people on a very metaphysical level, and we've seen this in real time, in real fight situations, with the elves when he was, getting rid of the reincarnation spell, when he dove into Patri's mind and heart, he was able to bring him back. That's a very profound change in soul that anti-magic is not equipped for. So that's just one thing there, but yeah, that's kind of the point of the chapter, that Asta has almost complete rule over this world, and he's not in any place of real power like Lucius is, or some of these wizard kings and queens, but he's still affecting this kind of change. So yeah, it's pretty interesting there. Let's talk a little bit more about Leviathan really quick, because I did forget to mention that I think Noelle will come up with some type of other attribute. Leviathan is linked to fire. They do say every time it opens its mouth, fire comes out. Very hot, blah, blah, blah. Leviathan also controls all sea creatures. Don't know what that's worth here on land or in the air, but it is what it is. But another thing is the scales, right? The scales are impenetrable. So I'm hoping that if and when contact is made, that Noelle's skin is just really impenetrable or very hard to pierce. I think it would be a cool addition for this. Another thing the Leviathan is attributed to is poison. So to have a kind of poisonous water attribute would be cool. To be able to break down, because acknowledge this, she is at a very heavy type disadvantage. Water against steel should not be working. So if she does have like a poisonous attribute or a very hot fire, this could break down Astia's defenses pretty easily. Something I've been looking for is for Noelle to get what's called Aqua Regia, which is royal water. And this essentially breaks down anything in its path. In alchemy, it's used... I think I'm going to be getting this rock. But it's... why don't I just look it up instead of be wrong about it? Aqua Regia, Royal Water, Alchemy. Its ability to dissolve gold. Gold is the perfection of the soul, so it could break apart the soul, which is part of the alchemical goal, is to be able to separate the soul from the body and then put it right back. That's what creates perfection. So I've been kind of looking for that, and it's a good way to fight paladins, right? To be able to take out the other soul that is influencing them as well would be a big advantage for them. But those are kind of some of the things I'm looking for Noelle. Now, to get into the theory behind this video, before I talk about anything on Twitter, I have not talked about this. So, the title of this video is called Even Gods Fall. And it's something that I've been looking at since I want to say the end of the Elf Reincarnation arc. Because really weird things were happening all throughout the series, and this chapter kind of reinforces it. This chapter and last chapter, when Noelle gets Leviathan, is when I really started leaning towards this again. So, if you guys remember some old videos, I talk about how the gods of old become the demons of the new. And to briefly showcase this, we'll stick to my favorite, Beelzebub. Beelzebub was the highest ranking angel in heaven. Nothing soared above him except for God. So if you look at some of the some source lore, I would call it the more simpler source lore. Some of the reason why some of these devils got booted down to hell isn't necessarily for going against God, but it is for the fact that people started praying to them directly and not to God. So they fell. And especially when they started sacrificing to these angels that were being revered as gods, that's what caused them to fall. So then we have demons like Moloch also fallen, who was vehemently worshipped throughout time, just like Beelzebub was. They were sacrificing children to both of them through the means of flames of the bull. And so what I'm seeing here is that we have Asta, who has Libe, and no one's going to take this from me unless they are literally Tabata, and that's what I'm waiting for, is that Libe is more than likely Lucifer. And I've gone over all that stuff. It goes into Chaosophy, but anti-magic and chaos are one and the same if you look at them. So for Asta to potentially have Lucifer, and then we have Noelle, who just got Leviathan, who is a named devil in lore, and Tabata has been using true names this entire time, except for Magicula. And then we have Yuno, who's got the second son of Licht, who has the ability to despair. Seems like we're getting set up for more of a flip than we're expecting. And to go even further into it, we met Mario Leona in the Royal Knights exam, maybe a little bit prior to that, actually. But really saw her go in fight against the elves, where her magic was so strong that it didn't matter what the attribute was, if she was at a disadvantage or not. Her spells were completely eradicating the other spells that were coming towards it. And then we flash forward to the Spade arc. The first devils that come out are Lilith and Nama, and Nama's fire does the same thing. Now, I will say that Nama's fire has more finesse to it. It probably has more of that anti-magic quality, where Mario Leona is just powering through it. Or we could say that Nama is just so phenomenally strong that, it's pretty much the same effect. Does kind of tell me that something else is happening here. Mario Leona also turning into her attribute is another feature that that is just like Nama, right? So I'm thinking that something is happening with a certain crew here. How could I forget Yami? Seems to be directly linked to Lucifagus. These are things I can't ignore, and why I don't think Lucius is gonna be our final villain. And to be completely honest, I would go as far as to say I don't even know if Tabata is going to name the Order of the Fly in this. However, it does look like that the main cast is in good standing to become just that and fight against Lucius. I'm sorry, I didn't really delve into the thing. So having the second soul that has wind magic, that's able to despair, is important to me just because Beelzebub is a demon of the wind. So is Lucifer. So it's just kind of interesting how that ended up working out for him. But yeah, I'm thinking that we're gonna see some, I guess, betrayals coming from within, just like what happened with Lucius. Like I was saying on Twitter, how I think Lucius took some notes from Megicula's playbook with malevolent femcantation. I guess it's a good time to start going through some of these theories. I just posted it, so I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, just in case you did not see it. Where is it? This one? Okay, so yeah, it just goes back to like the fact that the advent of Clipot was not meant to be at all successful, in the way that the purpose of it was said to be to release all the demons from the underworld onto the world of the living, so that they can just wreak havoc. And there's no real purpose behind that, as far as Dante expressed at least, and Vonica. And but you see, and now that we can recount what happened, Dante, Xenon, and Vonica never leave these spots. They never corral together, even though it would have benefited them. And think that these three, as individuals, were going to have to face against the entire world's best over the course of 7 days. Now, I will say that they would have had a better chance, or they would have had a chance if Lilith and Nama weren't complete scrubs, right? But we also see that all the devils were not in on this plan. Lilith and Nama being some of those devils. Because when they fused, they were just going to decimate the entire area. They did not care about any sort of plan. They were going to ruin the entire Advent. So I do think that the purpose was so that these three would die. And that would be for Lucius to make his descent, just like Megicula needed 3 vastly powerful female mages for her to descend. So that's part of what I'm thinking as far as that goes. So I want to flip it and say I think one of the devils, could be Beelzebub, I hope it is taking a playbook, taking notes from Lucius's playbook that came from Megicula's playbook, where now everything they need is topside. Every single thing. Lucius, while he may think this is a smart thing to incarnate those souls into bodies that can free roam the planet, if there's any slip, I feel like these souls could easily become, could come into the physical world, as long as they attach themselves to someone else. So let's say it like this. Lucius came through Julius. It was the ultimate betrayal, right? Now think of it with Austin Liebe, where Liebe can somehow come through, maybe through that arm, and completely take over Asta, and then say that second soul that has does despair, and potentially belongs to another devil. We'll say Beelzebub in this case, because Beelzebub not just the wind, but also created the zodiac, is controls the fixed stars. Comes through. Then we have a massive problem on our hands, right? Where we've lost and Noel with Leviathan, same thing. We've lost all of the things, or people, that were making this world better, and now it's in the hands of devils completely. And it's not just because of Lucius, but because of the protagonist trying to do, more good, but aligning themselves with things that shouldn't necessarily be trusted. Now, I know a lot of people might think, well, obviously, Liu Bei is not evil. I don't think there's not any room for him to not be evil, but I do think it's something to consider as well. And I've always likened it to Attack on Titan, where Eren knew a lot more about the world and the plan than he put on for a long time. And when he finally came out, it was this big epic thing. And I think some of the same will happen with our main cast and whoever they're connected to. Because something we can't take away from Liu Bei that we haven't seen any other devils do or have are these ripped wings. It's very indicative of a fall. Lucifer is known for his fall. Lucifer is the head of the Order of the Fly. These are all of the demons that he trusts within it. Well, I won't say every single one, but the high-ranking members are. And that is Adremelech, that is Beelzebub. Beelzebub is the one who runs it. But Lucifer is the one who essentially put it... how would you explain this? So, Lucifer is like, yeah, I need a knightly order, and he entrusted Beelzebub to put it together and run. But Lucifer is the head of it, while Beelzebub runs it all, if that makes sense. But anyway, I do think that'll end up happening. And this is kind of the switch we also see in Hino artistically. When Asta's facing off against Lily. Lily's an angel. She's flying high above the ground, while Asta has his ripped devil wings, and he's on the ground looking up at her. And the dichotomy is that this angel does not mean well, while this devil does. And I think that can easily flip one more time. Because again, the goal of these devils are to come out. And as we see, these Supreme Devils have an exponentially difficult time coming out than other devils do. As we see with Lucifero, who needed to make his own vessel in order to manifest. And we did talk about why that's the case, why he can't just walk out like like Lilith, Nama, and Adremelech did. And it should be because the last three devils don't have physical forms. But anyway, I think this is part of a very long, drawn-out plan for them to all descend together and carry out whatever their mission is, because we still don't really have the demonic agenda as far as, yes, we know they want to torture humans, but there's got to be more. Like I was saying in lore, Beelzebub wants to move the battlefield between heaven and earth, or heaven and hell to earth, because they all have a better chance of doing it, or winning this battle. Okay. This is where I talk about the flashback. Okay. Oh, that was in my circle. You guys aren't supposed to see that. Let's see. Just kind of going through this to make sure that I'm not missing too much. I know there's stuff I still want to talk about here. Just give me just a second. Oh yeah, this would be cool. So we talked about it like one of the streams. Like I think when we found out about Lucius, but I think it would be cool if Julius does surface again. Like, let's say this cut that landed on him ends up allowing for some type of opening for Julius to come out from the background into the foreground and take over Lucius for maybe just like we'll give it 5 seconds because we know how much 5 seconds can last in this series, right? So, for Lucius to be taken over by Julius, for Julius to leave an opening for or whoever's fighting Lucius to land a fatal blow would be really, really, really awesome. Just because, it would kind of bring in all kinds of callbacks where Julius, again, dies on the Capitol and we'll say by a sword, just like Patri killed Julius originally. And having the elf inside of be a part of that as well kind of brings it full circle back to that. But it's now flipped. It's still for the good of the Clover Kingdom, but of course Lucius is not the best for any kingdom. So it's kind of flipped in that way too, if that happens. To create a story off of it, I would like it so that Julius does this, but it ends up screwing more things up than it fixes by releasing these devils that are under the control of Lucius. Because if Lucius should die, then his spells should also be wiped out. So that could lead to more disaster with these incarnated devil souls. And I think that's something you got to worry about. Now, I also am under the impression that Lucius is not capable of fully dying. Having soul magic, I do think he can reincarnate himself or incarnate himself. And I think that's what he did with Julius. And I still think Julius is Astaroth. But I don't want to talk about that right now. Oh, this is all Kaiju number 8. This was a crazy chapter too, by the way, you guys. I'll kind of scroll to the next Black Clover thing, and I want to look to see if there's any comments left here. Okay. Oh, this is a good one to talk about, I think. Okay, let's read through your comments. Byron, you need Lucius to start going ham with different magic and eventually take the magic he gave to the paladins back like rock. Yeah, I can see that happening for sure. For sure. Shelly, your second theory, this one sounds interesting. I believe you could be right that it could be connected to Hungry Joker. I believe Heidi's flashbacks and Lucida's condition could somehow be connected. Maybe. You think the first and second theory could be connected when I had said that Libe will be the main protagonist. I think Libe is Heidi from, I've heard you say this before, is from Hungry Joker, and Astaroth was using his body when he was born before the event of Hungry Joker began. I don't know. That's kind of a lot. Because then you just have to explain like why Astaroth doesn't have his power, but someone else does. I guess you could say like it's a contract, right? So they're just siphoning power from Asta or Libe. But to acquire a different magic on top of that, or a different ability, anti-magic, I don't know. Seems a little weird. Yeah, I don't... Well, okay. Well, I'm going to try and spice up your theory a little bit, Shelley, and make more sense. So, let's say Lucius and Julius bind with Astaroth. Just like the Triad did with their respective devils. They're using the power. But for whatever reason, Astaroth separates from his... like, completely separates from his power. And for whatever reason, becomes a child. Rebirths somehow. I guess it could make sense that siphoning that power from this devil completely would leave it magicless, for sure. And then maybe you could say that since they took all the time magic away from Astaroth, and them being humans, they just stripped the attribute from the mana itself. I hope that makes sense. So let's say let's say we use water magic, right? And then you strip away the water from the mana, just like Ladros was only using mana with no attribute. I guess you could say maybe what's left of the power Astaroth has, if we're saying Libe's Astaroth, is the negative mana that was used to drive that time magic. So he's just left with all the negative mana, which just negs mana altogether. I guess that would make sense-ish. We would just have to figure out why, like, Lee-based child and all that stuff. But yeah. Okay. This one got a few people talking here. So, now that we're introduced to like timelines that Lucius has foreseen, we do get towards the beginning of the series some potential places where it started. Now, I think Nate was on this saying that it was probably like from his birth, which is probably true. But these are some real-time aspects that we can see for sure. Had Asta never got this grimoire, none of this would have happened. Asta would have died. Would have died in this timeline if he didn't get this grimoire in this situation. Then we see the Witch Queen. This one was a big point, for me at least, where the Witch Queen is observing the Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Sun starting to invade, and she's saying the fire spirit salamander, even though its shape isn't yet perfect, it has so much power. It's far stronger than my divination foretold. Has fate begun to go off course? There's one other enemy force as well. Will we be able to resist them with the power of the force of witches alone? So this is exactly what Lucius went through here. He's like, well, the youngest child of the Silvas shouldn't be this strong. And it's stronger than what he saw. Just like the salamander was stronger than the divination foretold for the Witch Queen. So it goes into, well, what was making the salamander so strong? And it had to be the third eye that was on Fauna, because Fauna was being heavily driven by the third eye in this particular case. This is fresh off of, I think, not Veto's death. Patri getting defeated in the cave. But, this is kind of showing us that there is an active force acting against Lucius. Now, I'm not saying that this is specifically to combat Lucius, although if you're dealing with the messing with timelines and fate, you probably are, because Lucius has been looking into it the entire time, it seems. So there's something or someone that has been actively in the background putting a wrench in things, and I do think it's behind whoever was behind that third eye spell, because that could not have been Zagrid. Zagrid didn't have a third eye himself. He doesn't do anything with the third eye. And then we get a panel. I don't think I put it on this thread. I did not. When Vetso is fighting Noel, and Noel like blasts off like half his body. There's a part where Vetso says, "You've managed to draw," and that's the third eye opening, and they emphasize the third eye in that panel. That's something else talking. And again, Zagrid does not have a third eye. The only devils we have seen are Magicula with a third eye, and Lucifero, although it did not manifest the whole way. Other than that, those are the only devils. Now, Broku, on our collab, does mention that there are very big similarities between what happened with Magicula and Vonica, as well as with these third eye members. every single Third Eye member was equipped with a self-destruct thing. One of the curse warding magic that we saw from Vonica and Magicula was a self-destructing curse on their disciples that she set off to blow up the Heart Kingdom, right? So it's stuff like that that's really interesting. And these, the way Veto healed himself even, we see that Magicula uses high-speed curse-wording magic to be able to promote healing and accelerate that process. So it seems like Zagrid may have been working with something or someone else. And even Zagrid's existence is kind of unnatural. And a lot of this, I will say, will go back to Zagrid and what his initial plan was. It did not seem like he would have been working for Lucius. And he also does and says some interesting things. Like when he first manifests, he says that his body is not yet perfect, although he's fully manifested in the world of the living. He obtains the Grimoire, and then I remember bringing this point up a long time ago, I think as it was happening, and people were kind of on me for saying, like, well, he didn't have his Grimoire, so he wasn't perfect. But we haven't seen any other devils since then, right? So, or until this, the Spade arc, right? Just to come to find out that there are no devils that have Grimoires. And in fact, the only comment that we have from a devil since Zagrid about Grimoires is from Lucifero, and he doesn't like them. And there hasn't been one other devil since that has been striving for a 5-leaf Grimoire. So he was a part of a very niche squad where he knew the ins and outs of the things that he was doing. And seemed much more knowledgeable than the rest of these devils, at least on that front. But I will say it seemed like he wasn't just going for manifesting his body. Remember, in the Elf Massacre, Zagrid wanted to take over Lick's body, right? He didn't want to manifest his body. And the reason for that, and he also says that light magic won't work on him once he does get into Lick's body. And I think the goal behind what he was doing was to be able to gain 2 attributes. He wanted to have his Kododama magic with Lick's sword magic. And that would have made him a perfect or more perfect body. But he was not able to take over anybody, and I guess kind of settled for just manifesting his own body. And then no one really questions where he was going to go after he did all that. Because remember, he did try to leave, but was getting stopped. What would have happened if he didn't get stopped? Where was he going to go? We could speculate and say he was going to go to the Triad and maybe do away with them. There was a time where I was thinking, oh, Zagrid's probably working with Lucius. I think there's still room for that, but for him and this third eye spell to be connected, it would seem like Lucius isn't any part of this. So if he is going to take out the Triad, then from there, it's like, where would he go? What would he do? This is the part that really needs answering so that we know what the devils are really out for, or what some specific devils are out for. But anyway, something has been in the background just messing up Lucius's plans to have a being like Asta just pop up out of nowhere, out of a person that shouldn't be able to bear any children, is ridiculous. Others entirely. Yep. Okay. Why is this on my timeline? Oh, okay. Why do I have all this? Oh. I'm still in the thread. I hate this new thing Twitter's doing, though. It's like, discover more. I always think their comments on like whatever I put down, it's like, dude, this is not even relevant. Okay. Yeah, we kind of gather that. Okay, okay. Man, I post too much. Too much. This is what we were just talking about, by the way. Oh, if Noel gets a trident, I do expect it to be like the one that Zagrid pulled out during his fight. Because the aesthetics are kind of the same with her lance and what this spear looks like. Of course, it's much more physical, but the shading of it looks a lot like Noelle's lance to me. But should she get that, that'd be crazy. And the bigger part of that is that she wouldn't actually know that trident is something from the underworld because she wasn't there for this fight. Those are the beads that I was talking about. That's on the Sea Devil or the Sea God's waist. Okay. I feel like there's one more that I was. Oh yeah. So this could be a whole video in and of itself, where it seems like Asa has made his own timeline, right? Which would be interesting because we know Tabata's a Bleach fan, but to be able to not manipulate fate, but to create your own fate is a pretty big power to have. And it affects whoever it wants to affect, really. So Asta's creating reality as he's going through life. That'd be a very interesting twist in the story. Just hope it to be clean. Just very curious how Tabata's going to drag all of this stuff back together. Whatever it is, it's going to be pretty epic, though. Okay. Lucia's cover page was sick, by the way. Super sick. Like it. Okay. So, did I really not have anything else? Okay. I'm going to go back up to the top to address something here. So, had a lot of people message me about this because so if you don't know and you interact with me on Twitter, I have my settings to where I only get notifications from people that follow me. So there'll be times where I like go back to a post to kind of read over it as I'm developing the theory or whatever, and then I'll scroll down. There's more comments, and then I'll find people coming out of left field that don't follow me, and I'll see their comments. So maybe this wasn't one, or maybe it was. It was. Okay. So, our resident Night Baron left an interesting message here, which I had typed out, then I drafted, because I was like, it'd be much better to say this in words than typing. So I'm going to read what she says, and then I'm going to give my take on it afterwards. There's more replies, too. Let's look at those. So, let's read the post real quick. So, essentially, it says, knowing about different timelines, I think it's fair to ask how many Lucius has actually lived through firsthand. I think Lucius is more or less a leech. Not sure when he was born. Yes, I know that his and Julius' character profiles exist, but with ability to incarnate souls, he should be able to do it himself. There's more to that, but I want to go. Okay. And then it says, I'm saying this because I wonder if sent that motherfucker packing in one of the other timelines bad enough to cause him to incarnate backwards in time to not only suffer injuries from their fight, but also for the purpose to have killed before he could even grow up. Which brings up the age-old question, why Xenon let him escape instead of ensuring his death. Which is a really big question. But I'll talk about that as maybe the best vision happens. Therefore, I'd like to promote the Black Clover version of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. Lucius's visions are probabilistic, but he has the power to steer reality towards the vision he prefers the most. And this is the only reality, which is like the collapse of the wave function, and so the other visions are no longer possible once one of these happens. What most people have in mind is like the Black Clover version of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, such that all these visions correspond to some parallel reality. And some even claim he can change the past. I don't think this is the case, but all of this is only my personal opinion. We'll see in the next few chapters what happens. Now, I think it's a good point to bring up, and kind of weird coming from me, especially coming from me, but I don't think it's that deep. That is so weird for me to say. But I do see what's being said here. Having alternate universes based off of the things that essentially didn't happen makes sense. I see that Lucius is pretty specific in foreseeing these timelines and not living through them. I do see that. However, it's very tough for me to believe that Lucius was, born, lived his life, and then was like, okay, at some point, I'm going to want to take over the world, make it equal for everyone. And the very first thing I'm going to think of is contracting with Astaroth, the devil of time. So that way, I can see all the futures, and then manipulate things from there. Just a very hard time believing that. I feel like the thing that I have in my head is that time exists as much as it doesn't exist. And I want to say it like this. Time has, just like Julius's Grimoire, has no beginning, no end. Time is happening now, it has always happened, and it will happen. And let's put it like this. There's already a time that I have shut off the stream. And I've made decisions from clicking that button already. But I'm living in the present, because that's the only place I can live in. And then in the past, I made the decision to schedule the stream for 12:25. Oh my god, it's been 2 hours. Okay. For 12:25 today, I made that decision in the past. Now, the theory behind this time is that all of those things are happening all at once. Okay, there is no real past, present, or future. It is all happening at the very same time. So now, with Lucius having soul magic, now this is assumed by me, and I could absolutely be wrong. However, I think it'd be stupid to have soul magic and not be able to use soul magic like stuff on yourself. One of those things being incarnations and reincarnations. I feel like Lucius has died, lived through the timeline, seen the timeline. But reincarnation, when that happens, you don't go into like a future cycle necessarily. You can definitely go into the past. The ideas behind reincarnation are the fact that you are put on earth or in hell or in nirvana, not nirvana, but heaven, for a specific purpose, and that purpose is for you to figure out. And so you'll get yeeted into different timelines, or maybe not timelines, but just different times, whether that be past, future, or a relative time in which you died. So it is my belief that Lucius has incarnated himself into the body of Julius to act as a leech, right? You can see that if they were born together, they should work together, right? We see this with Yuno. He was born with that second soul. And he uses both magic at the same time. He does not switch between Grimoire to Grimoire. However, Lucius does. This should imply that there's enough separation, just like with Patri and William, that they were not necessarily born together. Or I can't say born together. No, wait, yeah. They weren't born together. Because William can't use Patri's Grimoire, Patri can't use William's Grimoire. Now, this is also a difference between species as well, I do believe. And that the fact that their what's it called? Their souls they're not necessarily similar wavelengths. And I do talk about this in extreme depth as to why they were able to even do what they did. But with Lucius, he's able to use the power that Julius has because of two things. One is more of a headcanon for me. The other one, it could be likely. So one way is that Lucius has soul magic. He could have shifted the soul enough to be able to use the magic that Julius was using, as well as using his own. The other one is that he's contracted to Astaroth. Julius is, in fact, Astaroth and was able to reincarnate Astaroth into a different species, human. Then that makes sense as to why he's able to do that. Still some holes here and there, sure. But as far as the quantum mechanics stuff goes, I don't see this happening. Do I see the sense in it? 100%. Absolutely. I just don't think... I'm trying to explain this the best I can. I apologize, you guys. But Tabata's very good about taking concepts, writing them throughout the series, and giving us the step-by-step, right? Giving us these clues. And having us take an idea from one arc to the next, but apply it a different way to help us gain a better understanding is kind of what Tabata is known for here. Now, when we get to quantum mechanics, there's really nothing that Tabata has done in the past that would suggest that he would bring something like this up. And it's much harder to explain, much less draw. So this is why I'm not leaning towards that really at all. And more so that Lucius has had to live through at least one timeline before coming to this conclusion that, okay, I need to not only contract with this king, because remember, he says he's the best. Like, he's the best devil user in his family. But he contracts with the lowest king that there is. So why not just directly, go for Lucifero? He knew that he needed to go have the power of time to be able to see when he could eat Lucifero's heart. I mean, this is other stuff, that is not just common knowledge in one life, to me, at least. To eat a devil's heart? Who would have thought of that, right? It just, to me, doesn't make a ton of sense. to think that he just one shot this entire lifetime because he happened to make a good contract with the Devil of Time. I don't see it happening. I'm sorry. Very smart idea, and could definitely be right, but for me, you guys know how I am. Very hard to move off of the way I think in a lot of these cases. But do think it was funny that Knight decided to comment on this when we've had no other interactions. It's kind of funny. I do want to see the other replies. This guy. This is... Okay. I try to stay away from comment sections in Twitter, especially my own, because I have some really weird randoms in there. Very weird. It made me question whether this was in bad faith or not. But this guy is just a complete troll. Not my favorite account here. So I'm not sure why why Knight felt the need to tag them. Really odd. Some group chat stuff. Twitter group chats are some weird fucking places, dude. I don't partake. Oh, what do you say, Woozer? I definitely think that's potentially the version of causality Lucius's time ability is tapping into when it comes to his foresight. Dialogue seems to be opening the door towards altering a singularity that occurred, but it could simply be to feel poignant in the moment. Interesting. Interesting. You have other comments there, though. Why did it just show that one? Oh. That's scary. Show more reply. Okay. It's just wrong. Okay. But yeah, I wanted to take some time to talk about that and kind of respond to that in full. Like I said, good idea. I just don't see it being realistic as far as drawing and explaining that to kids, the audience. So I did say I was going to go over one last thing here, and I completely forgot. But anyway, how crazy would it be for, remember they were able to expose Magicula's heart? What if instead of trying to stab that shit, they just dove in and started eating it? Wouldn't that be crazy? Since you can just eat devil hearts now? It's insane. Anyway, I'm forgetting what the last thing I was going to talk about was going to be. So, I'm going to read through these last comments here. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, please let me know now before I log out. Okay. Jack, I thought about Nocton Morgan, and I think... Also, the Nocton Morgan stuff is going to be really, really cool when and if it happens. Morgan should have a lot of insight as far as what happened with breaking that relic goes, Lucificus's relic. And I'm very curious to get his viewpoint on that, and also Nox and the decisions he's made since Morgan's death, and how he is now and all that stuff. I would also like to see some dialogue between Morgan and Yami as well. But anyway, sorry. Jack, I thought about Nocton Morgan, and I think they could be connected to Heidi and his half-brother from Honey Joker. I'm thinking that Noct had to deal with Osteroth to save his brother. Now, that's something I brought up in a video before. It was because of the way that Tabata had illustrated Noct leaning into Austin, saying, I've been watching you this whole time. You've always chosen right. And it shows him as a kid with did make me think for a while, well, maybe he was commissioned by Osteroth to keep an eye on Asta, and make sure that, he doesn't just die, I guess. Because the Legend of Faust is directly correlated with Osteroth. So it could have been that. It still maybe could be, but you think you'd know by now that he was working with Osteroth. I don't know. That's what I would assume. And then, Shelley, you continue. I think Osteroth has used the reincarnation spell on Noct to get reincarnated as Heidi in the distant future to use Heidi's infant body because I think the spell doesn't work on devils. I would disagree. If you can get incarnated, you can get reincarnated. There's a little bit too much jumping between the series for me to be able to hop completely on board with that, but I think that's interesting. Byron Zagrod is quite literally a precursor to the Paladins. Do you mind explaining what you mean by that? Shelley, I think Noct from Hungry Joker is Morgan that had lost his paladin power. He was mocking Heidi with Heidi's name from his previous life. Wait, I don't get that at all. Because Morgan and Noct don't even look alike either. Noct from Hungry Joker. And also, Noct has the spatial magic in a sense. So he would be connected to Beelzebub if we were crossing series like that. So I'm not quite sure how you got there. If you could explain that, that'd be cool. For blaming Heidi Noct's reincarnation for turning him into a hideous devil hybrid. Well, Noct didn't have anything to do with that. So I guess I don't understand. Would this confirm Black Clover is multiverse and Hungry Joker would be in one of them? I mean, it's definitely possible. I've definitely made those connections in other videos before. I don't think it's as deep as we're going here in the comment section, but I do think it could be possible. Magic is what came before science. So I think it could make sense, and it's very easy to write in. But yeah. Shelley, I'm thinking that Austin Liebe could be from Hungry Joker's verse before the event of Hungry Joker began. I need to read that again. I'm thinking that Austin Liebe could be from Hungry Joker's verse before. So from Black Clover. They're from Black Clover. Okay. I haven't got any other comments on you guys wanting to talk about anything else. So with that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I will try to hop back on. We're on break this week, so I will try to hop back on next week. I'm done with school for the semester. I've got about a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, before my next semester starts. So I should have a little bit of time to do this. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Please let me know if there's anything you want to talk about via Twitter or in the comment section of this video. If once I get the notification, which I'm bad at checking, I will be more than happy to discuss it with you. Yeah, but other than that, you guys stay safe, stay out the way, have a great weekend. If you have the 3-day weekend like me, yes sir. Other than that, this has been Jack Oates to Go. You either know or you don't.